Hello, everyone, and welcome to Think Yourself Healthy podcast. I'm your host, Heather Duranja. Let's dive into today's episode. All right, everybody, on today's episode of Think Yourself Healthy, we have special guest, Wes Feipner. He is a member of Juve's leadership team and leads all of their marketing efforts. Wes has a background in marketing and is a complete nerd when it comes to all things health and fitness related. Sound just like my kind of person to have a chat with.
Yeah. Well, thanks for having me, Heather.
Well, thanks for being with me. I'm really excited to have an opportunity to interview you and talk about the products. I am a huge believer, have been a big fan since 2019. And then over the last year, I ended up getting sick with the big, thing, and ultimately suffered some really unfortunate consequences. And as a result of that, I found that the, Juve technology and product have been a real saver for myself when it comes to a lot of these symptoms that I've been struggling with. So I'm excited to have an opportunity to chat with you and some of the potential that these products have.
Yeah, that sounds great. Yeah, once we touch on some stuff, it's just really cool, just how beneficial light is, and really how much most of us, are unaware of just the many benefits that light can do.
Right. Absolutely. So before we dive right in, Wes, tell me a little bit about you and how you got started with Juve.
So for Juve, I mainly run all of our marketing efforts. So
Okay.
I first started in Juve with more of our business development side. So really doing a lot of networking, finding new partners, folks to work with. And I've gradually kind of moved my way up inside of Juve, and now I'm fully involved in a lot of the marketing, the messaging, et cetera. I got connected with the company because the founders just happened to be my two sisters and two brother-in-laws. And so I was kind of close to the inception of Juve when it started. And,
Fabulous.
I have to admit, when I first heard of the concept of it, I thought it was would be a colossal failure. I was like, no one's going to buy that red light. There's nothing, it can't really help you. Like, that's stupid. I've never heard of it before.
A typical family member.
Oh yeah. Our family up to that point, we had tried like a lot of different other health stuff, different diets. I started to hear about kombucha, bone broth, all these other alternative things. And it wasn't really mainstream. And that's what I was kind of like, this was back over 10 years ago. And so at that point, that stuff, and I'm from the Midwest. So you hadn't really heard a lot about that stuff. So
Right.
My family, it was kind of like, guys, we're kind of weird. We're drinking bone broth. Like, that's weird. No one else is doing that. My friends aren't doing that, so I kind of had that mentality.
Right.
And so when I heard about red light, I was like, guys, this is another weird thing, but once I actually started using it, and felt the effects of it, I knew it was a game changer. And shortly after that, I went to my two brother-in-laws and sisters and wanted to be involved in the company however I could, because I saw the potential for it. I saw this is really going to help a lot of people. And it can really help athletes and in an area that I was really interested in for athletics. So that's how I got involved with the company. And that was early 2017. And since then it's been really awesome and great to see the company grow.
Yeah, I'm a huge fan of the product. Like I mentioned, I was introduced to it in Juve specifically in 2019. I first heard of infrared light when I was working. I also am from the Midwest myself, and I was working for a fitness club that had infrared light. And that's when I got introduced to the benefits of it, used it pretty frequently, fell in love. And then when I went out on my own for private practice, I no longer had the luxury and the exposure to the red light. So I ended up starting off with the Juve Go and absolutely loved it. Took it everywhere with me traveling, was fabulous for spot treating, just became addicted. So tell the audience, tell the listeners, what the heck is red light therapy? What is all of this stuff?
Great questions. Before kind of understanding like just red light and infrared, I think it's really helpful to understand really what is light in general. And I know we all have an understanding of light as an illumination device, right? Something that helps us see, flip a switch on, helps us see. But when you actually start breaking it down, light is energy. And that's exactly what it is. The scientific term for light is electromagnetic radiation. So it's energy, and it travels through the air, space and time, et cetera. And the original source of that energy is the sun. And the sun, as we know, powers everything in the entire universe. Without the sun, everything is just, it doesn't exist. Life would die as we know it.
Right.
And so it's very important.
Mm-hmm.
And so understanding that is like, okay, light's really important. Well, what does it really do for us? The only understanding I ever had of, the sun is healthy for us was from vitamin D perspective.
Right.
But now we feel like we've kind of hacked around that and said, well, you don't, it's dangerous to go out in the sun for too long. So just take a vitamin D supplement.
Mm-hmm.
But when you actually break down the spectrum of light that comes from the sun, the Earth's atmosphere blocks out a tremendous amount of harmful wavelengths. Mm-hmm. And it only lets through a very small percentage of vitamin D. So UVA, UVB light, which is what stimulates vitamin D. And when I mean so low, mm-hmm. only about 4% of the wavelengths that get through the atmosphere that actually hit Earth, the surface of Earth, it's about 4 to 6% of that is UVA, UVB.
Wow.
So the majority of the light that's hitting our bodies, it's not what is producing vitamin D. Mm-hmm. So that was really interesting to me to know that, hey, the light that the reason we're going out in the sun is for this vitamin D, but that's actually the shortest amount of wavelengths that are actually being exposed to us. So what else is there? And so that, as I was looking at that, you can really see, well, there's all these other spectrums of light that you get exposed to, infrared, which is, we feel, is the heat, right? That's what provides heat to the Earth. It's what heats the Earth. That bounces around. And then there's these spectrums of red, near infrared. We all know blue light. Blue light is what's in the sky and what helps us, our circadian rhythm. It helps us wake up. Right. And when you look at all these wavelengths do different things. Mm-hmm. So you got vitamin D that can stimulate, UVA and UVB that can stimulate vitamin D. But as over time, they've discovered red and near infrared actually can stimulate and the mitochondria in your cell, which the mitochondria is responsible for producing energy. Mm-hmm. It's the powerhouse of the cell. Every cell in the body has mitochondria. Right. And they're very important. Right. And red and near infrared actually can stimulate the mitochondria to produce more energy. It can shift cells that are under oxidative stress, repair themselves faster, and start producing more energy. So it's very, very, very healing. Right. And it's something that's natural and that we get. It's just not super well known, and so if you can isolate that, what they've figured out, and it was actually an accident. Okay. The red light therapy, the scientific term photobiomodulation, was discovered in the 1960s on accident by a scientist trying to use a ruby laser to remove a tumor on a rat's tail. Interesting. And instead of removing the tumor, it generated hair growth. Wow. So completely different. So that's what kind of led the discovery of, hey, what is this light doing that actually stimulated growth? Right. Versus burning something away. Right. And since then, NASA has used it in space, and there's been thousands of clinical studies, and now we know definitively that it's targeting the cells, and they're absorbing it, and it's kicking off more cellular energy. And with more cellular energy, our bodies can function, as we're designed to. Because as most of you may not know, as we age, our mitochondria starts to be less and less efficient. And that's really the aging process, is our mitochondria and cells become less efficient. Right. Yeah. Fabulous explanation. I appreciate all of that. And, as I'm listening to you talk, it's making a lot of sense to me why I've experienced so many benefits with red light therapy post having the virus, because
ultimately these spiked proteins happen to be attacking the mitochondria of the cell. And if the infrared light has the potential to target the mitochondria and help supporting energy production, I'm guessing zinc and vitamin C and all kinds of other, nutrients are being encouraged to do their job. So that's pretty exciting stuff.
Yeah, it is. I mean, and if you think about it, if you can affect your cells to be more efficient, not only are they going to, those individual cells are able to kick out more energy, but they all can also work better in conjunction with each other.
Right.
And when you do that and you're treating a broader area, you can really affect the body in a lot of ways. And that's why, there's a lot of clinical studies anywhere they're shining this light on the body, they're seeing a positive effect.
Right.
And so it's really, really cool that we're really on the cusp of the capabilities of what red and near infrared light can do, and just the best use cases of how to use it.
Right. Absolutely. Well, and the reality is in society today, people have such poor sleep cycles. They're so out of touch with the circadian rhythm. They're not getting adequate deep sleep to help produce, growth hormone, do the healing and repair. So the reality is we need all the help we can get to just get into a more anabolic state where we have the opportunity to rebuild and reverse the aging process. But most people on, the regular basis, they don't stand a chance. They're just accelerating how quickly they are aging because of just everyday lifestyle and stressors. I mean, it's everywhere. We can't escape it.
I was just having a similar conversation just the other day, and what I was kind of pointing out in this conversation is, hey, our modern lifestyle. There's a lot of great things to it. Technology has been awesome that you can, in a matter of seconds, I can call somebody from, across the world and be in touch with them and talk to them, your phones like that, all that stuff is great. But I think that comes with consequences.
Right.
And some of that consequences is we're so dialed into our phones. We live a very, I'd say increased amount of time inside,
Right.
And this is not just my opinion. You can, the Environmental Protection Agency released a stat in 2018. This is before COVID. It's probably even worse after COVID, yeah. But, over 93% of the American life was being spent indoors. And so 93% of their time was being spent indoors of their life.
Wow.
And that's a lot, right? We're not really getting out in nature. And if you think about really human society and over the years, that's new. That's very, very new.
Right.
It wasn't until the early 1900s that we put the light bulb in the home.
Right.
And this is really cool. If you look at this, when we implemented the light bulb, before that, the average American used to sleep about 9.5 hours. Since the implementation of light into the home, over the last 100 years, that's now diminished to the average of about 6.5 hours.
Wow.
So just in 100 years, these are Americans, we're sleeping an average of 3 hours less.
That's very significant. Very,
and we know, as all this information is coming out about sleep, of how important it is for the body recovering itself, flushing toxins from the brain, replenishing hormones. Just so many good things happen when we sleep. If we're not doing that as much as we used to, and we're not, and just look at how that can affect our health. And that's just one aspect. So you mentioned, of the stuff about sleep and everything else. And I look at it like we're really out of balance. So I kind of look at red light as bringing in more balance to your health and wellness. It's not going to be a solve all and a silver bullet. Nothing is.
Right.
But it can help bring more balance to living in this modern lifestyle.
Hey guys, I'm going to interrupt this episode for a really brief message and to introduce you to today's amazing podcast sponsors, Wayblock. If you know me, you know that I am all about reducing toxicity. And to be perfectly honest with you, this whole 5G thing has got me a little freaked out. Did you know that your phone and AirPods emit radiation? According to the CDC, your phone uses radio frequency radiation to transmit its signal. This cloud of radiation just sits outside your brain the entire time you're using your phone or on your AirPods. If you listen to podcasts, talk on your phone, do Zoom calls all day, that exposure really starts to add up. The frequencies from your phone actually pass through your brain, which is really scary and can cause negative effects like headaches, foggy brain, fatigue, and other issues. I love using my WaveBlock EMF protective stickers for my phone and AirPods to direct these harmful frequencies away from my body and my brain. WaveBlock's accredited lab-tested line of products helps significantly reduce the amount of radiation you are getting exposed to with their easy-to-apply EMF blocking stickers. They have protection for AirPods, AirPod Pros, and all of the recent iPhone models. These stickers don't interfere with anything, so you can still use your phone case or whatever it is that you like. They just offer all-day protection. Make sure you head to waveblock.com and take advantage of a 20% discount using the code Heather. I'll make sure to link it in the show notes for easy access. So make sure you head to waveblock.com to get your 20% off discount and use the code Heather.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely fabulous point. And so I'm curious, for the average listener who's never heard of this infrared, this far light, can you kind of just tell the difference or explain the difference between infrared and red light to us and kind of just give us that?
Yep. So as I was mentioning, this term photobiomodulation, it's the use of certain wavelengths of light, to stimulate cellular energy. And It's actually a small band of wavelengths of light. If you look at the chart of wavelengths, there's hundreds and thousands of wavelengths of light. Mm-hmm. And it's just this tiny band in the visible and non-visible spectrum that are actually clinically proven. So there's two wavelengths that are in our product. You're going to see in most red light therapy products. It's going to be red light, and that's in the, between usually in the mid 600s, and then near infrared light, which is invisible to the human eye. We can't see infrared. Mm-hmm. That's going to be just a little bit higher in about the mid 800s. And the difference between those two wavelengths, red light is obviously visible. We can see it. Mm-hmm. And that is a little bit of a shorter wavelength. And that is what's being primarily absorbed by the superficial layers of your skin. And so that's what you're going to see in a lot of clinical data for supporting healthy skin. And that's really what one of our founders used a red light for originally. Mm-hmm. Was she used it to help offset some eczema issues she was having, and it worked really well for her. Mm-hmm. So it's very, very red light is very, very good for your skin. You'll see it in a lot of esthetician offices, etc. Near infrared, that is a little bit of a longer wavelength. It's invisible to the human eye. And it's important to note that infrareds can be different. So I'm specifically talking about near infrared. There's also mid and far infrared. Mid and far infrared, those are much longer wavelengths, and those are primarily absorbed by the water in your tissues. So if you've ever been in an infrared sauna, that's the difference. Those are using mid and far. So those wavelengths are being absorbed by the water in your body primarily, and that's what's heating you up. And so that's why you feel, heat when you're in a sauna, and it's not so hot like you're in a steam sauna, throwing water on the coals. It's because it's like cooking you from the inside out. And so in our products, they're near infrared. So different end of the spectrum, right? You have your mid and your far. Near is here. Mm-hmm. And near infrared penetrates a little bit deeper into the body. And so that's what's really going to affect muscle tissue, provide some joint pain relief, different things like that. So the biggest difference of these wavelengths, they're both affecting the mitochondria, just at different levels.
So is there any risks with using this kind of light? We know that there's risks with our phone of emanating EMF waves, and we can take some preventative measures, but there's not a whole lot. So is there any kind of risk that we have to be aware of with using this product frequently?
In general, there's a really good thing about red and near infrared is it's generally low risk. However, our products have gone through extensive safety testing, and they are a true medical grade product. And so in order to do that, you really have to take it to third parties and have them really kind of take it through the gambit of determining if it's safe to use, right?
Right.
Whether you need to wear eye protection, whether, the internal components are to a high grade that they should be. So no
Right.
corners are cut, because our product it's a medical product. It's a class 2 device. And so if you're using a medical product for at home, the user has to be able to use that product, as they have no training for it. And so you have to set it to different standards. So at Juve, we've gone to those standards. We've gone through that testing to ensure it's extremely safe. There's always, there's always some individuals that may experience like a detox symptom or something like that, or those folks out there that are light sensitive, or maybe they're on some sort of medication that they should talk to their doctor about. So if, falling into any sort of category, it's not a bad idea to ever just run it by your physician. But in general, most people have a very positive effect to it. In general, there's very, very low risk. But if you're looking at different products and wondering what's the difference, it's really important to know if that company has taken their equipment through that safety testing, third-party safety tested, so and can ensure you're exposing yourself to safe wavelengths of light. Because there's, as we know in this day and age, there's lots of stuff on Amazon, there's lots of stuff on the web that can mimic, good quality brands and what they're doing. So not everything is created equal. Ask the questions, because you will quickly find out that most companies have no documentation and can back up what they're actually claiming.
Yeah, thank you for that explanation. It really clears up a lot of stuff, and you could not be more accurate about all of the crap that's available on Amazon. I often recommend this kind of therapy for my clients, and they'll be, well, I found it on Amazon, I can get, and I was like, oh, please don't, because you do not know what is going to happen. And the last thing I want to hear is a horror story. So I'm really glad that you brought that point up, that your products have gone through medical grade testing and are approved and safe to use at home by basically someone who has zero knowledge. Push the button, plug it in, or plug it in, push the button, and we're good to go. So with that being said, how often should we be using this piece of this tool? How often should we use it?
So for myself, I use it nearly every day. I have a 1-year-old daughter now. And so she can kind of, thank you. She can dictate my schedule quite often. But typically I'm getting at least, minimum of 4 to 5 treatments per week. And I use it primarily every day. For most people, that's going to be just fine. If you're first starting out and you are in some of those, maybe dealing with certain health issues or different things, everybody's built differently and dealing with different challenges. So you could start out doing just couple treatments a week, and just, maybe do a 1-minute treatment versus our recommended 10 minutes per treatment area. Just see how you go. But for most people, they're using it on a daily basis.
Okay, good. And also, so if we're using, like, for instance, the Solo that's sitting behind you, if we're using one similar to this, do we have to do one treatment of front of the body and then do treatment of back of the body, or is one side exposure enough to do basically the whole body treatment?
So good question. We have a variety of products, and you mentioned the Solo device behind me. So something we wanted to do with Juve is, as I mentioned, my sister Melissa, who was one of the founders, and how she first stumbled upon red light therapy, is she was going to a local tanning salon using a red light therapy bed. Okay. And so her first experience was full body exposure. So that's really been, the conception of Juve, is how can we bring full body red light therapy into the home? And so the goal of doing it is, and all these other devices are effective, like the Solo device, but our system is modular. So it's eventually designed to treat your whole body at once. Because if you're looking at a lot of these clinical studies, you'll see shining everywhere around the body, it's benefiting. And so we just believe in treating full body. But if you can't, and we know, everybody's got a different price point. As we talked about, like the quality we put in our devices and the medical grade components, it makes it so it's not accessible just for everybody to jump at, a full body system that we sell. Right. So we really like offering and splitting the devices up so you can start where you can afford. And you could build out of more of a full body system over time.
Yeah.
So we really like that. And to answer your question about, can you treat in different areas? You absolutely can.
Okay.
You could use the Solo and treat in 4 different areas and cover your whole front of your body, multiple areas in the back. It's important that whatever area the light is exposed to, that area is getting treatment. There isn't a ton of data to show, like, if I'm just treating, let's say the core of my body, like all my vital organs, et cetera, is that going to benefit maybe in an area on my elbow or my wrist?
Right.
It very well could, because of the increase in blood flow that can happen, the cellular energy that can take place. So that's stuff that still needs to be figured out. But in general, you want to, any area that you're wanting to treat, you'll need to expose the light. So if you have a smaller device, you can definitely treat over and over again different areas around your body.
Okay. So another question, and you might not be able to answer this, but I'm curious, as a dietitian, utilizing this product, does one need to increase the amount of fluids that they drink?
I haven't actually come across that before. So you are right about that question. It's a good one. I don't know, to be honest.
Okay.
I don't know. In general, I think it's never bad to make sure you're always drinking enough fluids with whatever whatever new stuff, but it's definitely interesting. But I personally haven't noticed, like a decrease in my hydration levels after using the product.
Okay. And I have not experienced that yet myself. However, I, intuitively feel like the more hydrated I am, the better it's going to help facilitate any kind of chemical reactions inside the mitochondria. So I'm a big advocate for drinking spring water to ensure we're getting all of those minerals, so everything has the ability to be there. So this is really good stuff. So I've seen a lot of great benefits with hair loss. As I mentioned earlier, I had a lot of hair loss once I got sick. I had 103 fever for about 14 days. And as a result of that, it really impacted my hair. And so I was using the Go I was trying to multitask so that I, use that to help stimulate regrowth and stop the hair from falling out. But I was kinking my neck and then ended up having to go to the chiropractor. So I said, screw it, I'm going to have to get the bigger unit. Like, I see the benefits of this. So I'm really glad that I made the investment. Like I've mentioned, have been a really big fan for many years, really believe in this technology. I think that with where we're headed in the future, it's just something that every family truly should have in their home as part of their holistic lifestyle. If we want to be able to minimize visits, and copays to the doctors, long visits, all of those things, this is a necessity that everyone should have. So is there anything specific that I haven't asked or mentioned about Joovv that you think is important for the listeners to know, or something that makes this very different than a lot of the other stuff out there, which I feel like we've talked quite a bit about?
I think there's a tons of variety of things you can do for your health. And how I look at stuff like that is, especially if you're doing a lot of stuff, like the whole goal is I'm trying to keep my body healthy so I can avoid going to the doctor,
right?
Getting prescription drugs and different stuff like that. Like, either way, you're going to go down the route of either I need that stuff or I'm investing in stuff, that can help prevent that. So there's a lot of ways, you can incorporate red light therapy. And I think the key thing is using it to just help maintain a balance and help just for longevity of your health and wellness. If you can make sure your cells are efficiently operating and having the energy they need, and you're mixing this, red light therapy in with a good diet, exercise, it's going to help your sleep. Like, you're bringing all those components together. Yeah. And so it's going to just help you overall long term, because, a lot of things we do, like just like vitamins we take or different supplements, like, you don't necessarily see the benefit right away of taking vitamins. Like, I don't get a instant gratification, right? Like, like you would, like if you're doing an ice bath, right? Or if I'm doing a sauna, I'm feeling the sweat right away. I'm feeling the cold of an ice bath right away. And so with red light, it's like some people, their reaction may be like, I don't really feel anything, or like, what is different? It's like, well, you have to give yourself time. You may be running at a really good cellular level.
Right.
So this can help maintain that cellular level. So it's like, it's good that you're not, like you're functioning good. That's great. Like this is a tool that can help you, maintain that, especially for longevity. So
yeah,
I know I just wanted to throw that in there of wherever you're at, like this light is very good for you.
Yeah.
And so it can help ensure not only maybe bring you back to more of a balance or help keep you maintain that balance.
Yeah, absolutely. Fabulous advice. Great tip. I think, like I've mentioned, I think everyone can definitely benefit from the technology. For me, it helps me with the resistance that I have when it comes to like sitting still and practicing mindfulness. I can kind of multitask with the, with this, device by also doing some meditation, throwing the glasses on, doing the meditation. It helps really get me into a more balanced place multiple times throughout the day. So I'm really grateful for it. So I appreciate your time today, Wes. Thank you so much for spending the afternoon speaking with us and sharing all of the good stuff about Juve. Anything new coming up for Juve?
Right now we're really focused on this new generation, and we're actively involved in clinical studies. Our goal is to continue to push forth on education, finding new ways we can improve our product, because our ultimate goal is to make folks, happier, healthier, using the power of light. And that's our goal. So we're going to continue to push that forward. And as we get a better understanding, we can make better products, and we can make them more efficient. So we're always experimenting in different things behind the curtain. So just, if you're interested in that, definitely stay tuned to our newsletter or website, and you'll be up to date on that stuff.
Fabulous. Well, thank you again. And everyone, I hope you all check out Juve. They've got a lot to offer, and for everyone's price point. It's definitely an investment in longevity and vitality, which I think is something that we all strive for.
Thanks, Heather.
Thanks so much, Wes. I truly appreciate it.
Thanks for joining us on the Think Yourself Healthy podcast. Make sure you leave a review and let me know what you think. I love reading your feedback. Come hang out with me on Instagram at Heather Duranja, and don't forget to take a screenshot that you're listening to the podcast and tag me. I love to share it. See you on the next episode.